never mind. How are we all doing?
We're very good. Would you like me to introduce you?
Oh, yeah. Do all the do all the bits. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, welcome everybody. I did the first session and I'm doing the last one of the Gauge Your Guild Spring Show. So thank you all for coming along. And Anthony's going to give us quite an intriguing talk this afternoon on trackside making real life photographs, which I'm really looking forward to, I have to say. But before we get started, can we do the housekeeping? I think Anthony's happy for you to either unmute yourselves if you want to ask a question, or if you prefer, type your questions into the chat box below. If you hover over the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat function appears. And if you just send a message to everyone, and either myself or our co-host today, Gareth Haynes, I'll pick up the questions and ask Anthony while he's going along. And can I just remind you all that we are recording the presentation this afternoon for the Guild's YouTube channel. So if we could keep the profanities to a minimum, that would be really good. Great. Well, over to you then, Anthony, and thank you very much.
It's all right. What's the title for this one? What's the title for this one, Nick?
It says,
we don't disappoint anybody.
It says Trackside, making real life photos.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we've got a few bits hanging over from the other sessions as well, haven't we? In case we get any visitors coming back. Right, okay. So we had some sessions earlier today, and I was asking my local group, what can I do? What should we demonstrate? What's missing? What would they like to see? Being a typical mix of modelers, and they said kit bashing, and I thought, well, that's not a bad lead. What might that look like? So what I've tried to do is to think about how you might use our kits and build them sort of how they're meant to be built, but use them in different situations. So first thing I'm going to do is show you our coal platform. So you might be familiar with our coal platform. It's been on the website front page and things like that. And that's what it is. That's what it is. Now, the kit itself comes in a number of different parts. Of course it does, but you can use them in different ways. So, and we've always said that. We've always said that. So, coal platform comes with a basic platform. It comes with walls, which you can choose to use here, as we have done. This is so showing you what's in one kit. So that's from the top side, and we've got all the diagonal brace legs and things in the base. Well, how else might you use it? Well, we've always said that you can use it as a platform, and you can make some coal staves out of these pieces. They don't have to be with the platform. They can be left-handed or right-handed or used over there, which is fine. But that's all we're thinking about coal, yeah, for locos, and put some coal on there for the locos to pick up during the day and things like that. So what I've done is I've been through a book, which, from my point of view, you know, from a sort of a manufacturer point of view, is maybe going to be a little bit different to you as a modeler of whatever you're passionate about. And I just sort of tried to pick a book at random, and I came up with this one, which is about Great Central. And there's a lot of information in there about how the Great Central came to be and how it was built and things about when it was built. And then you get your sort of general loco pictures and things like that. And there are the stations when they're being built, and it sort of follows the line. And I haven't read it and absorbed it very much to know where the line went to and whatever else, but I know it ended up at Marylebone, so there we are. Nottingham, well, certainly went up to to Immingham and Grimsby as well. But anyway, that was Great Eastern, wasn't it? Built the dock at Immingham. Down to London, down to Marylebone. So a lot of good things in there, a lot of different photos about things that we might want to build. And I came across this photo, which was, now what I was intending to do today was to put these on the screen for you to look at, but for some reason they didn't scan very well, so I apologize for that. So this is the first photograph. Okay, so we can see there's the station there, so newly built, and we've got a siding with a platform at the end of it, which is being delivered with some milk churns. Okay, so that's sort of one way we might use the kit. So not properly fully set up, listening to chairman, not a good idea. Not always a good idea. There we go. Some other bits for later on. Ooh. So here's a sort of a basic kit in, probably best if I switch to the other camera now. Oops. Without knocking over the glue. What do we see here? Right, okay, so there we go. I might arrange this a little bit cleverly. Let's have a look. So there's the so here's the photograph that we're trying to do. This one here, and we've got the basis of the coal platform, which can become a milk platform, and we've got the old horse and dray cart. What are these called? These got a special name, haven't they? With the milk churns, and we can put some milk churns on there. We can get some off there. So that's a different way of using one of our kits that you might not have seen before. So that was one thing. Now the other thing we've got on our website, if you've seen it, one of our more recent editions, we've got a little country pickup, which is going to need to be put there, which is just a little roadside stand where the farmer might go down to the end of the lane and put some churns on it, maybe for the horse and cart to pick up when he's going past. Of course, when he's been passed, you'll need one of those, which is an empty one. So there you go. And then, of course, when you use the platform like this, you might be able to use the other parts of the kit in the goods yard or wherever you want to use it. So that was the first example I came up with, which I thought was quite novel, and uses the coal platform in a way that we've not considered before. I don't know whether you know or not, but we do balance for stations and canopies and that sort of thing. And there's a range of the different shapes that we do. And they've sort of come from us being asked for, or us looking through books and thinking that's an attractive shape. And it's always seemed to me that modelers are pretty particular about the types of valance that they want to use. Now, doesn't seem that Great Central were as obsessed by having exactly the same thing. And if any of you ever go to Paddington Station, you'll see, if you stand on the platforms at Paddington Station, especially on the underground end of it, the metropolitan end of it, there are at least 8 different patterns at Paddington. you can see they've got a family resemblance, but they're all different. And what I just thought I might show you is, as we go down this great central line, you've got one here. Oh, mind the glue. You've got one there. Not very good coming out on the picture, is it? Well, anyway, which looks like this one, which is a pattern that actually came from the southern region. Well, the drawing that we did this from came from the southern region. If we go a bit further down the line, you see we've got a different pattern there at Ashby. It's probably not in focus, is it? Which is very much like Great Western pattern we do. Okay. And if you go a bit further down the line, there was another one, I promise you. There we are. Bit better for the. You can see that's in silhouette. That's a lot easier for us to follow. That's a different pattern again. So I think the comment really is that if you see a pattern of valance that is not too outrageous and obviously isn't different to a particular geographical location that you're exactly trying to copy, just go for one you like. And the same is true of fencing. Now, we do two sorts of fencing really. We do a pattern which is we call Midland traditional because it came from the Midland style book, which is this sort of pattern. And this is pales and rails and posts, and it's about 4'6" high. General sort of fencing. And if you look through railway magazines and books and how you know different areas of the country looked, it's difficult to say, well, that's a Midland one, or that's a Great Western one, or whatever. I'd sometimes wonder whether we shouldn't label things with their origin, because people tend to look at them very particularly then. And the other type of fencing we do is this one, which came from London North Western Railway, because that's where the commission came from originally, some years ago now. And you can see that it is a little bit higher. So whereas this is 4'6", this is on the drawings is 6 feet. And you know, if people say to me, what would you use? I say, well, this is a boundary fence really. The small one is a boundary fence, and the larger one is more like a security fence. Yeah, you're trying to keep people out here rather than marking the boundary. And of course, with marking the boundary, the other thing we do is line side fencing, which is 4-bar variety and a 3-bar variety. And these are pretty strong. You can see I'm sort of wafting it around, and it's not not trying to crack or break or anything. And these come in various styles, but we do the kit with 2 of these stays in for each panel. So this has got 1 stay in and this has got neither. But you could choose to put 2 stays in there in each location if you wanted to, if that's what you wanted to do. So the reason why we're going along the fencing route just at the moment is that we've got a bit of a sort of a mixture here going on of fencing in this next photograph. that over. Just give me a second to maneuver my big pot of glue. Right. Okay. We've got a variety of fencing going on here, and it's obviously newly built because they've put some trees in. But we've got a sort of fairly high, regular spaced, thick post here, which is like our 6-foot security fence, which is going around the boundary, and you can see it's up on around the station master's house and so on as well. But also there's this curious fence that's on a slope here, which is obviously a different pattern. There are no upright pales there. It's finished because it's been painted. You can see the station's been moved into, but what it's doing is it's climbing a bank. So what you've got here is you've got a fence that will go along a straight line, but for something that's going to go onto a bank, well, there are two things you could do. We do a ramp fence for this one, where it will climb up a bank, but that's not what we're looking at in the photograph. This is more like our cattle pen fencing for a slope. Okay, so whereas the cattle pen fencing is in one piece like that, this is part of our fencing from the diorama. If we painted that white, it would easily go up that fence. It could easily be that fence going up the steps, up the bank to get to the railway premises. And the other photograph that I'd marked out is going back to one of these balances again, is that one, which shows us a station balance. And people often say to us, well, your balance is very deep. Well, it is because the way that we sell it to you, we try and be flexible and let you put slopes and things in, so that if you wanted to make a sloping roof to the canopy, whether it's this way or whether it's that way, you've got the opportunity. And if anybody has taken notice of our diorama over the last few years, then that's exactly what we've got on this piece here. So that was something else to show you. Have we got any questions, Nick?
Not so far, but can I just sort of remind everyone that if they want to ask Anthony a question at any time during the presentation, just unmute themselves and ask. Or if you prefer, just type it in the chat box so everyone can read it.
Could I ask a question, please?
You certainly can, sir.
I thought that fencing going up an incline, like you've just showed, the actual rail, the posts were always vertical. But using your ramp fencing, the posts would not be vertical. They'd be at an angle, the angle of the fence. So what would you do in that situation?
Well, that is maybe not coming out very well on the, let me see if I can, there you go. That's maybe a little bit more illustrative. So there is definitely an angle on the rails and the posts. They're not straight, yeah. So what we have on the cattle pens that I'm showing you, but also in the ramp fence for the security fencing. So that's a straight cattle pen piece, and that's the ramp ones. So the posts are vertical, but the rails are at an angle.
Fine, I can see that now.
It's all right.
Yeah,
You get used to using the camera and showing you the right angles.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Now, what I was thinking I might show you just at the moment. So, if we were going to try and replicate that, our LNWR fence and the ramp fence for this, and the cattle pens, if you can, I should show it at the right angle, have a male and female piece there, okay, which just helps you to line them up. That's all it's really meant for. And all of these kits, cattle pens especially, are modular, so you can make them into whatever configuration you want, whatever shape you want. Arrange the gates in whatever places you need to. The one we have on the website is that one, which is it just sort of illustrates what a kit will make. So a kit will make that much with 2 sets of gates and 2 big gates. That's no good because it's not on the camera. 2 sets of gates here, and 2 big gates there and there. And this is a sort of a ramp kit. So there are 8 pieces in a ramp kit. What I thought I might just do with you today is show you how those pieces go together. They've got a male and female joiner on them, but they have a doubler to go over the joint. So it looks like the rails are going through the post. Okay, and that's what I'm going to try and do for you now. Sorry, I forgot your name. As the gentleman just pointed out, though, the posts are always vertical, although the ground might not be that they go into. So I'm just going to, you can see, maybe gather that the pieces that come out of here, out of the centers, which form the post doublers, are a little bit of an angle. So what I'm just doing is I'm just sanding off one top of each post so that it's level. And the sets also come with half posts, so that if you want to make a dead end or an end to the fence, then you can do that as well. And you would do that with one of these small pieces. Now, what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and put these 5 pieces together, which will maybe give us an opportunity to have a look at that white fence that we saw on the diagram. So to do the 5 pieces, I need to take the male ends off one of these so that it will just line up with the half post. And the female end at the other end is okay as well. So that needs to go on there. That needs to go on there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 posts I need. Actually, I need 12 because we're going to glue this side, and then we're going to wait for the glue to go off for a little bit, and then we're going to glue the other side. Okay, so if I do that on here, then we can move it while it's setting, can't we? Right then. That's good. That's good. That's good. and then we might need to trim the tops of posts a little bit after the glue's dried. If we're careful, we might be able to put a point on them, which we've done. I don't know how clearly it'll come out on these 5-bar gates. We've put a point on the top of that post, and we put a curve on the top of that one. Just a bit of variety. Give modelers some ideas of different ways they can do things. Right, so we'll get the glue out. So what I'm using here is, somebody asked this morning, can you use a super glue? Well, I wouldn't use a super glue. I know one of the magazines did do for putting some fencing together. I've not been successful with it. So you can use a wood glue. Of course you can. We've all probably got that in the house already. But I use that one just because it's a little bit quicker. No other reason than that. It's got a good grab time. So it's going to allow us to make some progress with this and then move on. So what we've got here is a little pliers rest thing. £5. And the glue set in the nozzle. Right. Okay. Just give me a second. How are we doing for questions, Nick?
Well, as yet, we have a very, very quiet audience.
I am.
If anybody wants to ask a question, either type it in the chat box below.
Yeah.
And Gareth and I will ask it for you if you prefer, or just unmute yourself and shout up. Does the glue grab straight away, more or less?
It's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. This is going to be a good test of showing you how quickly it goes, because as we move along, you'll see these are sort of jiffling a little bit, but the ones at this end are not going to. So it's got a fairly good grab time. And it's going to give us a little bit of a flexible joint as well.
You've got a question from Chris Ward. Would you like to unmute yourself, perhaps, Chris, and ask? Are you there, Chris?
Yeah, good afternoon all. I just wondered what the actual name of the glue was.
Yeah, I'll show you to the camera in a second. It's superphatic.
Sympathetic.
It's got an A in it.
All right.
Superphatic. With a PH though.
Okay. Cheers. Thank you very much.
That's all right. You're welcome.
Not like a PVA.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's suitable for wood. In fact, you know, it seems to be suitable for a lot of things. I guess there's a rubbery element, whereas PVA, you know, we would use it on track ballast and stuff and say it's invisible when it's dried. This is sort of invisible, but if you put a thick dollop on, because you're trying to put a fillet in the corner for keeping something secure, it'll tend to dry a little bit toffee coloured. And it has, certainly for the first few months of its life, it has a sort of a rubbery texture to it as well, which may or may not be useful. Depends on how rough your shunting is, if you're doing coach kits or something.
We've got a question from Keith as well, Keith Gowan. Do you want to find it, Keith?
All right. Yeah, my question was that while you were talking about valances for the station buildings,
Yes.
that you produced a set where it was half folded, and the next lot I purchased was not a half folded. Was I wrong to use one against the other, being one railway company or another?
Sorry, I missed the middle part of the question. Sorry.
The Great Western Railway station valance.
Yes.
I purchased a set from you some time ago, and that was folded in half, whereas the new set was not folded in half. Was there a reason for that? Had you made the pieces of wood too long, so you gave everybody the right to fold it in half to fit to the station building?
I don't understand why you mean folded in half.
Well, the valance goes along the front of the canopy, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, that particular component was actually folded in half to make it less than the normal height. No, okay, all right.
Do you mean the depth of the height of it?
The depth of the valance, say 1 inch. On the one set, it was folded so it was only half an inch, and then the new packet I purchased was 1 inch. So I was not sure what your intention was to sell it in. It folded it over in half, except obviously that the front of the valance was shorter against.
Yeah. We did. Now then. Okay. Sorry. I think I understand. So we do sort of a ready-made canopy, which is like that.
Yeah, well, that's you sold me, but a previous set that was folded in half, so it was only say half an inch of balance against what you're showing on the screen of page 1 inch.
Yeah. Well, that's the sort of the difference.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. So it's two different products.
What, two different railway companies?
No, just two different products of ours.
Okay, that's fine then, because one I bought at a show and one I purchased over the internet, so that would be the reason.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. If unless you ask for a canopy valance.
Yeah.
Canopy valance, you will get that set with two ends and whatever. But if you just ask for valance, you would get this standard width.
Yeah, that's the one I got in your right hand.
Right, understand.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for not picking that up straight away.
No, I've used it and it looks very good on the station, so that's the job.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
That's all right. You're welcome. So that has grabbed now. I sort of waft it about a bit. I don't think you could do that with a PVA glue. So there we are. And then the next piece would be to put the thickeners on the other side as well to cover this side of the joint. But you can see on there that there's a joint down the center of the post, and then we can tidy up the top of the post and that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay.
We had a question from Jackie Rooks, who's left the meeting now, but I want to ask it anyway. And it says, as a fan of the Great Central, because I am as well, I wondered if you produce a typical Great Central 5-bar line side fencing.
That was me, actually.
Oh, was it?
Tim Walker, yeah.
All right, sorry.
Yeah. I was following with interest your bits on, because I've got the same book here.
Right.
Echoes of the Great Central. Yeah. The 5-bar line side fencing on the Great Central is quite a feature all the way from Sheffield, Victoria down to Marylebone.
That's a lot of wood.
Yeah, and it is. I just wondered if you produce that in your company.
We don't.
The tops are quite distinctive because they're cut off at an angle rather than sort of a domed or a splayed top.
Okay. Have you got a page number?
I can have a look.
Yeah. Well, if you've got a page number, we can share it with everybody, and I can.
Right.
Okay.
It's probably easier in another book, actually.
Right. Okay. So let's grab that, and I'll just put some of these on. It's a bit like Blue Peter, isn't it? We'll just do some of these, and here's one I did earlier. Now, the other things we said we were going to do this afternoon, just tidying up from this morning session, we're going to put we're going to try and put a felt roof on our new goods shed, and we were going to try to adjust a platform shelter so that it fitted our platform kit. And just for anybody that wasn't here this morning, that was because the platform shelter we've got, it was a commission, and the customer wanted it to be a particular size for a particular situation, and the kit that we do doesn't fit ours, but I just wanted to show you that it's 2 minutes job just to adjust it. Okay. There we go. There we go. That'll do. Right. So just while that's settling along. Now, what we've got then, we've got our station canopy, which you may or may not be familiar with, which is a wooden frame with a plywood roof, and it comes with panels that are marked for the lights, but they're not cut out all the way. Okay, so you can choose to leave them in, or you can cut them out and glaze them like we have done this one. And then we've got the posts on there as well.
We've got a question here from Rob Thompson. If you'd like to unmute yourself, Rob, and ask away.
Thanks very much, Nick. On your fencing, you just flashed across the photograph just before you did the last pieces on the cattle dock stuff. You had what looked like brass rod fixed into the bottom of the fencing to obviously fix into the landscape. Is that what it was, or have you and you have got to drill holes in the fence posts to do it? Yeah, that's it. And that is just brass rod, is it?
It is.
Right. So when you've completed the putting together the fence, you've then got to go and drill holes into the fence to be able to put the rod in, or is the design such that when you put the fence posts together, there are holes at the bottom there to put in? Put the
no, good question. Okay, so there are no holes. These are holes that I drilled when the glue had dried. When we did this kit, when we did the traditional kit, the design of this fence, in as much as it's pales on rails on posts, makes it very easy for us to make the posts this shape.
Yeah.
So we've got two choices of posts. We've got one that's this shape, which will go into the layout, or we've got a full width post that you could fix onto a brick wall at the back of a platform, for example.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I ask is that I've built my own fencing for my landscape, and I'd never thought of using a brass post. I've actually, the fence posts that I made, which were out of walnut, I actually cut the bottom off. So I'd got the posts were longer or deeper than they were needed for the field, so that the bottom half inch or so would go into the landscape.
Yeah.
But I found it very fragile.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. You can, yeah, you can. So, okay, I'm not going to apologise for it because this has been to probably 50 shows. I don't know. This line side fence that we've got here is designed a little bit differently, in as much as there is a peg at one end. Okay.
Yeah.
Sort of
Yeah.
following on from your question about is it designed in? Well, this one is. And if you were using it in a layout, then you'd stick it in the layout, and that would be that. But of course, this has been around. It's had a lot of handling, and well, on this one anyway, majority of 3 in the middle there, 4, 5, but the rest of them I've actually broken off because we use that for sticking it in and locating it. Yeah.
Yes. Sure. Sure.
So yeah, you're right. Delicate.
Right.
Surprisingly, the 3-bar one has fared a little bit better, but not that much.
No, I like the idea of the rod, the sort of the brush rod being able to fit in. That's yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
That looks good. Yeah.
It's fairly sound as well. And the thing I would say about this one, and it sort of promotes it really, is that if it suffers a bash, if something lands against it, as it has done with the show diorama or whatever, you know, what tends to happen is the brass rod bends rather than the wood breaking.
Yes. Yeah, that's the problem. I've got fence right along the back of the layout, and at home I don't always have the rear sky scene on, and of course if I walk past it, just catch it, the wood breaks.
Away it goes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'd rather it bent, because you can bend it back then.
Yeah, I mean we've done it with all. I mean, this is if you know our diorama, but I mean you can see it on the website. You know, it's just another piece, and the posts are done exactly the same way.
Okay, thanks very much indeed.
That's all right. You're welcome. I guess the thing to say is, because some people do ask us, so when we've built, let's go back a little bit. When we've built this fencing for the slope, we've made it in a straight line. Okay, and the nature of what we have on the show stand is in a straight line as well, just because it is. And customers ask us, well, can you make it to go around a corner? Well, the answer is yes. And that's very easy. That's very easy. Let me see if I can just demonstrate that for you. Here we go. So we've got a bit of a... does anybody use this, like building board stuff for their scenery and layouts and things?
Yeah, I have.
Quite useful. Quite useful. Stanley knife and knock them out quickly. So I'll just do this very quickly to demonstrate the principle. How many shall we have?
You got a question there, Keith? I've just seen you hold your hand up. Keith Gowan? No, sorry.
Listening intently.
Right, sorry about that. I've got a. It's not really a question, Anthony. It's more of a comment actually from Chris Ward, who says that he always uses millimetre diameter green garden wire for his fencing, but he makes sure that he drills the hole through the fence post very deeply, you know, to
Yeah.
give it some strength.
Is that galvanized? Is that?
Well, I'm guessing.
No, it's on a reel, and you have a little metal clicker to click off the length that you want. You can buy it from the garden centre, but it is 1mm iron wire, plastic coated.
Right.
And it's a lot cheaper than buying 1mm brass rod.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put people out of business, but it's an awful lot cheaper from the garden centre.
No, that's fine. That's fine. It was probably what I had to hand at the time.
Yeah, 50 metres for about £5 instead of 1 metre for £5 as well.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. Right.
I've got a question from Doug Perkin as well. If you want to unmute yourself, Doug, and ask away.
Yeah, I'm just curious where you got the scenic board that you've got showing there on your workbench. Where do you buy that from?
Builders.
Builders merchants.
Yeah, it's now this I've got here is 25mm. What do they call it? Like Celotex. I think that's maybe a brand name, you know. But it's heat insulation board, which is why it's shiny.
Aluminium faced insulation.
Yeah.
Can you buy it in thinner pieces than that? Less than 25mm?
Not that I know too.
Yeah, you can. You can get 40mm and 50mm.
I think
They're probably gonna come in 8x4 sheets though.
All right.
What you need to do is to just be very aware of what all your neighbours are doing, and see who's got a skip outside and who's having building work done, and go and get it out the skip. Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a guy across the road from me. He's just had a lot of building work done, and both his skips have now disappeared. I'm just a little bit late.
Sorry for my timing.
No, it's just that on one of the other demonstrations that was on earlier today, a guy was using very similar board to that for modelling buildings, but it was thinner than that, and he was taking the front ceiling, that thing that's like silver finish. He was able to peel that off, and he was able to score out brickwork on the top because it's only foam underneath. I just wondered if you could buy that from anywhere.
Well, what I'm going to show you now is a totally different animal. I mean, this is sort of thick, so it's useful for making hills and, you know, whatever. But what I've got here is modelling board.
Yeah.
Which is like got a sort of a cardy paper face, available in different thicknesses, and that comes from Hobbycraft.
Yeah, I've got some of that actually, but you can't pull the front face off. It doesn't seem to peel off to leave the foam.
Why would you want to?
It's so you could use you can score the foam then as brickwork.
Oh, okay. I just put it in laser. I just put it in laser and zap it.
What Robin Taylor did a demonstration this morning, and there were a lot of buildings on their Brunswick Bay layout that had been made using that technique, where you split the foam board, and then you can sort of carve brickwork into the the exposed sort of foam face, and
Right.
That's maybe where that comes from, or maybe it's
Yeah.
a familiar technique to all building modelers. I'm not sure.
Well, that's exactly what he was demonstrating this morning, actually. Yeah.
So what I'm just going to do for you now is just demonstrate how you can make the fence into a curved fence. So this is 3-bar fencing, which could make up to that. Okay, so that's one kit. So I've only done there 12 panels in there. So I've just taken 4 out. So that's a kit. And what I'm going to do is, because they've got that peg in the side there, look, you can see this leg is longer than this leg. So it's just giving us some, you know, planting ability. So I'm just going to plant that. And then I'm going to put a hole at the end of this one. And plant the next one in. And then I'm going to put a hole at the end of that one. So you can very quickly build up a fence into the shape that you want to go round a curve. Now, you might say, well, it's a bit like a threepenny bit. Well, yeah, it is, but you know, if you look at fences that the railways put in, or the council put in, or you know, householders or whatever, they're not going to bend the pieces of wood, but they're going to put the posts in around the curve that they need to be. So this is how you could use this kit, and you've still got the doublers for the posts. I haven't got any loose ones now, have I? Still got the doublers for the posts to put in at the joint to cover that male female sort of lining up thing. And to be able to disguise the joint a little bit. Yeah, so that's how you can do that. We were talking about the canopy, weren't we? And we've got a canopy, and we've got a platform shelter, which was made to a customer's dimensions. But of course, it doesn't. Let's see if I can just hide that wire out of the light. There we go. It doesn't actually fit between the posts for our platform canopies. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how easy it is to change. We've got. Here's some parts I made earlier, Blue Peter again. So I've already made up the ends. And we've got 2 of those ends. And we've got the centres yet to do. So I just want to measure the centre. And I'm going to use the components to measure it. And let's say we want to be about... So I've got to think about the thickness of the 2 pieces. And I think we want to cut it off there. Right, okay. So we've marked the piece we don't need. And a little ruler. When I put the little, I put the little ruler in the little jiggly bob there, didn't I? These two tool rests are one of our products as well. If they look useful, let us know. So that's a short work of that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the panels on like that on one side, and then on that like the other side, and then we'll trim and replace the end piece, and that should be the job done. Okay. Before we cut anything else, we'll make sure that when our customers sit down on their benches, they will be able to fit in there. And the answer's just about, isn't it? Just about. Good. Okay. Let's go. Right. So as we've been doing on the other things, just a thin little line of glue all the way along. Let capillary action help us. Not really pressing it, just making sure there's a join between the glue on the surface and the glue on the okay. So just like we did on the couches, put the glue on, turn it over, give it a chance to have a look.
I think Chris Ward's just found a source of very cheap Celotex, Chris.
Yeah, our local builders merchant have a scrap bin at the end of the yard, and if you go up and ask politely, they will let you sometimes, depends on who's in the yard, have a rummage around for some bits of old scrap Celotex, because they don't want to pay to have their skip taken away for landfill. So
yeah, it's probably one of those products that is I don't know, not hazardous waste, but needs special disposure.
yeah, they can't just put it in landfill anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, to our benefit, it is one of those things that can get damaged fairly easily.
Exactly.
And while builders are going to chop it about when they're trying to put it into the spaces they are, they're not all going to see the benefit of having a reduced price piece, and we get the benefit.
Yeah.
So, Chris, where is the location in Sidmouth then?
Bradford's Building Supplies. Good afternoon, Keith.
Good afternoon,
and
Chris.
the other Keith.
I'll go round tomorrow.
This is like an Exeter Gage O Guild meeting. This is.
Right. So I've marked where I want to cut it, but I'm not going to try it because the glue's fairly wet still. I'm just going to try it with a saw instead of trying to mark through it with the knife. So this glue is fairly quick grabbing, but it is forgiving as well. It's not like super glue where it's not going to move. If you get something wrong, you can come back and adjust it.
And at least you can use your fingers again afterwards.
And that as well. Mind you, you do get the sort of black bits on it as well. Mind you, the black is not the glue, it's the soot off the
laser.
Soot off the parts, yeah. And as I was saying previous sessions, I don't think I've said it in this one, the glue line that is on the products that we use is dark because it's a phenolic resin rather than a melamine resin, and that means that it's waterproof as opposed to melamine resin, which is only moisture resistant. So if you happen to leave these outside and, you know.
Are you saying your board is based with a phenolic resin?
Sorry, say again?
You're saying your wood is based using phenolic resin?
It's glued together, yeah.
Ah.
This is birch plywood. All the wood products you see that we do is birch plywood.
Which is better.
More stable, yeah.
Yeah.
And as we were saying maybe this morning's session now. Somebody was asking about coaches and the thickness of the beading, and for 7mm, the thickness of the beading is 0.8mm, which, you know, the preserved coaches I've been and measured, you know, there are those out there with that are 1 inch. So, you know, 0.8mm is okay for me, but some people like it thinner. And I sort of wonder whether the prototypes were thinner, or we've just become a bit accustomed to half the thickness of a brass etch. Anyway, we can get thinner plywood because we use 0.4mm plywood on our 4mm coaches for the same thing, for the beadings. And that is a fairly highly engineered product, because if you think you've got 3 wood veneers and 2 glue lines that are totaling 0.4mm thickness, that's pretty impressive, I think. So we're nearly done with this one. We'll see what it looks like. So obviously the wood that I'm using for this side was growing on the south side of the tree and not the north side of the tree, because it seemed to cut through an awful lot easier. So what's gone wrong there? But maybe I should have just cut it with a saw instead. There's something that's just stopping it lining up accurately. So sometime, if anybody expresses any interest, I shall have to do one of these sessions on plywood and how you make it, and how I have to accommodate the quirks of nature when I'm cutting it. Make sure both of these sides are straight. How are we doing for time, Nick?
Well, actually, your time's up, but
Oh,
seeing you're the last gig of the day, so carry on.
We can just keep jamming, can we?
Well, up to a point.
No, that's all right. It's fine.
I was going to say then it'd be nice to go for a drink, wouldn't it? You know, go to the pub or something. But I don't think we're in a position to do that, are we? So
I can always ring the bell.
Yeah.
That'll go down well. Right, okay, so those pieces need to fit into those little holes there, but I'm going to let them dry a bit first. So that's the idea. You know, and you can do this with any of our kits. They're made of wood, so we know what wood does. We've been playing with wood since we had a little Gnat aeroplane, haven't we, when we were 5 years old. Hands up who remembers those. So we know what wood does, and you can cut it, you can adjust it. It's so easy to use. You know, that platform we were looking at before, if it's too big for your location, where'd it go? There's nothing to stop you saying, well, I'm gonna cut it off here, through there, cut all those components and chop it off there. Nothing to stop you doing that at all. Really easy to adjust things, to make them shorter, join things together. If we anticipate you're going to join things together, so for our canopy kit, for example, that's 400 millimeters length to length. And and it's 400 millimeters because it's not a medium parcel if we need to post it. Same with our loco boxes. We're looking at lunchtime. You know, there's a medium size, and then there's a large 8 coupled, 10 coupled, and they all go in a small parcel. There's nothing we do that's a large parcel. Okay.
Can I just say as well, Anthony, are you doing a special discount for the show for all the good people today?
If anybody that's on the call quotes PURS, P-U-R-S-S, P-U-R-R-S, Pussycat PURS, they'll get 5% off today. Well, you're only going to find out if there's PURS, aren't you? Well, if you order it within a reasonable time of the show. You don't have to a decision today. So that is available, Nick. That is available. So what was I saying? Right, okay. So this canopy kit is also available as an 800 version. Okay, so double the length. But we don't just sell you 2 kits of this. Okay, so that's where we were. Anything you can chop up and make into pieces, anything we anticipate you would want a longer length, then you can do a longer length, because the 800 one of these has stepped stringers, it has stepped roof panels, so that there are no joins that are in a line. All your joins are staggered along the length, so that there are no weak points. And if you should choose that you want a coal platform, but actually you want something that's rather larger, or even you want a ramp, we do a rural platform, which is exactly the same thing, but it's just longer. Okay, so we've got modular components that you can make into anything you want. And how many people we got on the call, Nick? Can you see?
Yeah, we have 24 people.
Wow. Okay. So take all the names, right? I'll say to you all that if you wear your carpet slippers when you come to a show, or bring them with you, okay? I'll let you stand on that. I'm confident that that is strong enough to take your weight.
That's a good sales pitch.
Thank you. Well, I always say it to people and look over the counter, and they haven't got the carpet slippers on. So if you want to do it, you know what to do. It's only been done once, and this is the same one. Yeah, so it's stress tested. Yeah, so anything that we think you're going to add to, make longer, fences, you want 6 fence kits, they're all going to fit together. Everything's modular. It'll go into the space and the shape that you have.
Does anybody have any questions then before we wrap up? Any final questions? Now's your chance. Shout them out.
Don't forget we do our little tool things as well.
What is the length of the security fencing kit?
The security fencing kit. That's a really good question. 8 of these panels. That helps, doesn't it? Yeah. Just a minute. Hang on. Okay, so I reckon that's about 69 millimeters. So 8 69s. Who knows our 8 times table? 8 7s, 56. 560 millimeters.
Thank you.
21 inches. Ooh. Just a minute. Hang on. Don't go away. Don't go away. Don't go away. Well, it would be at the bottom, wouldn't it? Here we go. No, it doesn't say. Sorry. Anybody got a calculator there?
Yes, I've got one on my phone right here.
Okay. So 8 times 9.75
78.
78
Yep, 78.
Times 7.
times 7 is 546.
46.
Whoa. Divided by whatever you want to divide it by. 25.4 if you're imperials.
25.74. 21.
21.
21.21.
And that's one of the kits. Now, if you've not done one before, we recommend that you have a starter kit, and that's the same for. Yeah, we were talking about the ramp fencing before as well, weren't we? Let's have a look. Where's that gone? Same for the ramp fencing as well. The starter kits for the middle and diagonal fencing and the traditional fencing, that one, and for the LWR fencing, they come with a template which helps you to glue the pales onto the rails, or in this case the frame, in an even and straight manner. Okay, so this is not me being clever and getting everything lined up. This is me using a template. Yeah.
Mm.
Does that help, sir?
Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Anybody else before we go? Anybody else?
The other thing I was going to do was put some felt on this roof, but anyway.
Save that for the next virtual show, or even the next.
Oh, I've got a big jug of PVA to do it with. What am I going to do with this now? Look, I put one piece on. I mean, yeah. I mean, you see this this roof light here as well. Fortunately, and we can do the black paper, black rag paper to go on here as well. If any of you have seen, or any of you have bought these or our other pieces before that use a sort of a felt top roof, it says in the instructions, get this from Paper Chase. Well, unfortunately, Paper Chase is a victim of our circumstance, isn't it? But we did find the source before they went, so we've got stocks of this black paper, and I think it's the nearest thing to like a felt roof that you can do. So what I was doing before when we started the session was this is quite watered down PVA, and oh, I shouldn't have done that, should I? Oh no, it's all right, it's wet. I was using this big brush just to lash it on, yeah, and because the paper itself is quite stiff, what I was going to do this afternoon, I was going to cut off strips and soak it, because that's been soaked and it's sort of pliable. Well, it still will be, because we can just put PVA back on, can't we? And bend it around the corners and stuff like that. You can see on the on the valance, where we've used it on the valance roof, look, we've tucked it up behind the valance there. So it's quite good material. I think, you know, people use different things on roofs, but I think that's the best thing I've found. And it's very malleable. You get it wet, it's not going to dissolve. The paper, the colour doesn't come out, but you can sort of wrap it around corners and stuff like that. You know, if ever you've put felt on a shed roof, then you know it needs to be soft and pliable, and you can bend it round and make sure the water drips off and stuff like that. And you can do all those things with this. So, sorry we missed that. Or we can continue. I don't mind.
Are you selling that
Oh,
felt?
it's 4:45. How did it get to 4:45?
Very easily.
Never mind. So this is, in case you missed it earlier on, this is a new kit today as well. This is a good shed. We've got, you know, we don't do a lot of buildings. You know, that's other people's expertise. We just sort of follow an ethos of is if it was wood on the railway, then we'll do it. And I sort of tend not to do brick and stone and that sort of stuff.
Could I ask?
But it's a wooden goods shed, so it fits the brief.
Can I ask just one question? Do you sell that felt strip separately, or does it only come with kits?
This one?
Yeah.
I can sell you some of that.
Thank you.
I can sell you some of that. No trouble at all.
Thank you.
No trouble at all. Because I fully realise that, you know, we've sold. I mean, wherever it's gone big enough. The canopy, for example, we've sold plenty of these at shows, and you know, I'm not. you might not agree with me after today. I'm not the most pushy of persons. You know, if you come to me and say you want a canopy, I'll say thank you very much. And it's not until you've gone I think, oh, I should have said to them, do you want some of this paper as well and stuff like that. So, you know, there will be people that got kits. Maybe you have some of you that thought, oh, I should have got some of that at the time. Well, yeah, we can do it. No trouble at all.
You can sell it separately with an order for other things.
The only thing is, being able to parcel it in a way that's going to be suitable for you. Okay. Very happy to fold it. A4 is probably as small as we want to go, isn't it? Yeah. If we sell it with a kit like this, then we'll tend to wrap it around the kit inside the parcel, you know. Yeah. It's just having the folds, but
well, you answered my question. That's fine.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah, even though you've got folds in it, if you're making it malleable so you can bend it around things, you're probably going to lose that anyway.
Thank you.
How are we doing?
Asparella, not beer.
Anybody want to ask a last question before we wrap up then, or is that about it? Well,
just like to say thank you very much. Yeah. Been an excellent demonstration.
Yes, very
thank
good.
you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Very, very happy to help.
So, thank you very much for your presentation, and thank you very much everyone for coming to the show. On behalf of everybody that's on the virtual show organising committee, thank you all very much. And maybe the next time we all meet, we'll get a real show.
Gee, let's hope so.
Yeah, we never know. Hi, John. I didn't see you there. Who else do I know? Oh yeah, come on, two names.
About the rice paper, because I've just started to get to LMR hut, and I bought all this gravel I was going to put on it, and I was using for church, and I realised it's not going to look right, is it?
Right, good man. Okay, thank you very much, everybody.
Right, if that's it, we'll see you all later.
Anthony.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
I want two John Starlings. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you soon then. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.